I would like to commend you for this presentation because for CXC, the children are studying the wine of astonishment. In the wine of astonishment, there is some little history in Trinidad, and the Shouter Baptists fighting for adult suffrage, etc. And when we make these presentations to our Guyanese students, we too begin from adult suffrage, the fight for adult suffrage in the 50s. And even today, the closing of our literature workshop, the 1950s was presented. So it gives us an opportunity now to go further back and to do research, and not only presenters or the facilitators, but even the students involved to do that kind of research. Thank you very much.
One of the things that I have been advocating for, I'm not a historian like you keep saying, but I put my mouth in everybody's story. Because I really care and I love Guyana, and I know we all do. And I'm fast, right? Yes, Mrs. DeCaries. But one of the things I've been really advocating for is for the university and the government of Guyana to call for a repatriation of copies of these papers to Guyana. Because it cost me about £4,000 to go and spend a week in London to do this, and now there's no need for them to send the actual papers, because I wouldn't advocate to send those, because we, you know what. But anyway, but the discs with the PDF versions of the papers, the digital versions that could be in the library, because there's so much information here. Even if I devoted the rest of my life to this, which I will not do, because it's not my primary area of study, I can't cover it. So there's work here for students to do, for high school students, for journalists to do, for people who are just interested in social history to do. And the other thing I want to say about this, you know, I have my own personal history is placed very much into what I do and what I study. I study social change, and that's really my area. And part of the big question for me has been a very personal story, because you know my father's Indian and my mother is black. And for many years, I've been trying to understand the dynamic of what happened in my own family with my parents, because they were divorced when I was very young, for nothing else than the fact that their families could not agree. And that has really, really hurt me for my life. And I've tried to understand it. And in going back to look at these papers, it was really, in a sense, very cathartic for me to see that there were moments in the history of this country when the case of warring tribes, I'll say tribes in quotes, was not the case. There have been points in the history of this country when this was not an issue. These people were willing to work together. They started to work together in solidarity. They understood the common grounds of each other, and then there were other external forces that came and reconstructed those arrangements. So that freed me to a sense, but it also set me on a course that I want people to understand this, and then you can make your decisions from that. But we must not believe that how we tend to be sometimes is how we have to be, because that was not how we started. So I just wanted to say that. Yeah. Yeah, Tommy has his hand up. Please give him.
First of all, I am no longer the activist. Secondly, as Padial could tell you, there are microfilm copies of most of those papers in Guyana. Thirdly, they was put in the facility at Durban Baccarat because the archives did not have, I think it's the lands and surveys. There are the copies there, because the people who did the things initially were the University of Florida Gainesville.
Yes, Gainesville, yes. Copies with us. I have not been able to find copies here, I have to tell you. But but here's the thing, though. This is not, listen, I'm not about blaming anybody for anything. My point, I really want, the objective point is that I want these things to be accessible. And two things about microfilm now. I'll let you talk. Two things about microfilm. One is that you have to have expensive microfilm machines, which we don't have. I am from the university. I know we don't have a microfilm machine that works, right? And I don't know about the archives. But you can now use these things. You see how I show this thing on my laptop? There are digital versions in PDF that will go stay on a small little hard drive like this that anybody could go and look at. So the microfilm issue becomes now a matter of, a kind of a different matter. There are machines, if we do have, as you say, most of them in Guyana, and I have not been able to find them, or else I'd not spend 4,000 pounds, believe you me. But, yeah, come by you and you show me where they are. But if they're here, there's a machine now that is being sold that is about 7,000 US that could actually take the microfilm and turn it into these PDF copies. So that might be a very good investment for anybody to make if we do have the data here, the films here, right? But I am sure we had them. I'm sure people like yourselves who were archivists had the same kind of passion for preservation as I do, but I have not been able to find them.
Well, as I said, we had to, put them there. Part of the thing is, I think we probably need to go back to the University of Florida Gainesville. I think since they are and were done initially in Ghana, we can probably work on
yes,
something.
And this is what I'm advocating. Because
so something like that would be first.
I paid, you know how much for a reel for 1 year of that stuff? For 1 year, it cost 167 pounds. And you multiply how many years? So I don't have all of them. I amassed them over time. So, and this is my own stuff. I got to go and buy from these people now, you know? Yeah, kind of a little wrong.
I tend to buy a lot of stuff personally for myself. No, but, just a couple of things since I am on my a couple of things which one wants to point out. Firstly, is that in terms of if one looks at the Freeman Sentinel, by the 1846, there were problems where the political consciousness of the masses started showing through. Because when they had a number of meetings at Mahike and Victoria, where the Freeman Sentinel went, the villagers rejected them and ejected them. And then one moves on to something like the 1851 mass meeting, where they tried to create this meeting, and it fails. Because at that time, you see, one fails to recognize that coming out of slavery, the guys had concepts of their own. I always tell people, if one looks at the Victoria's rule, there's one rule, that if two people have an argument, the first thing they're supposed to do is that one will choose somebody to represent him, another will choose somebody else, and the two people so chosen will then decide on a referee. Now, we are in a stage where we're talking about conflict resolution. Them guys were just out of slavery. They reached a plane in terms of conflict resolution, which we are now approaching. So that to think that because the guys were saying they did not understand, the political leaning, is to start off, in a problematic nature. I mean, even the Creole starts after the 1856 Angel Gabriel Rights. And the first major sections tend to be going over the evidence of the angel. So it starts off on a political thing. And what they are saying is that on behalf of all of these masses who you blame for this thing, this is the position. That's the first major thing in terms, so they then set up themselves as the guardians of the thing against those